Last Sunday we celebrated Father's Day, and about a month before that we had Mother's Day. And now, in the Gospel today, we hear Jesus say, "Whoever loves father and mother more than me is not worthy of me." So is Jesus telling us not to honor father and mother? Well, obviously that's not the case. It's part of one of God's commandments. The fourth commandment is to honor our father and mother. But Jesus is saying that we start by loving God first. And that's why honoring our parents is the fourth commandment, because the first three commandments are all about loving God. So Jesus tells us to begin with love for God, and that's because of who God is. God is the one who made us. He is the one who is the creator of all things and the giver of all that we have. God himself is love. And if we want to be able to love anybody else, we first need to know and love God. Because all real love first comes from him. It's not always the easiest thing to love others, including even times our parents or family. Oftentimes, we might think about just myself, what I want, rather than first thinking of the needs of others. So since love is not always easy, since love has to first come from God, God wanted to make sure that we had this love available for us. It's the reason why Jesus came, to offer God's love to us. Jesus' greatest act is dying upon the cross. That is really what love is all about. Putting the needs of someone else above our own. We've first received this love from our baptism. This is what Paul is talking about in the second reading today. That we were buried with Christ in baptism so that we'd be raised to new life with him. The sinful selfishness of just thinking only of myself, that has to be buried. It has to be gotten rid of so that we can rise again with Jesus, filled with a love that thinks of the needs of our neighbor before ourselves. So with the love and life of God within us, we can begin to love in a greater way. And love doesn't always have to be complicated or flashy or great big deeds, but oftentimes love is about the small and simple acts. And we see this in the first reading today with the woman and her husband. They offer the prophet Elisha a place to stay when he happens to be traveling in the area. They offer from what they have to a neighbor in need. And so God rewards their generosity with a baby son. Jesus says a similar thing in the gospel, that an act of love might be as simple as giving somebody a cold cup of water who is in thirst. Small acts of love, he says, will not go without reward. And when Jesus in the gospel also says that we are to take up our cross daily and follow him, included are all of the little opportunities, the small acts of love and sacrifice that make up normal life. So maybe it's getting up early for something that we might not feel like it, but it is good to do. Burying the little annoyances that those around us might have. The mundane tasks that we are to do at home or at work. St. Therese of Lisieux described this in this way. She said, "I prefer the monotony of obscure sacrifice to all ecstasies. To pick up a pin for love can convert a soul." So St. Therese called this path her little way. It's a simple trust and love of God and the attempt to glorify God in everything that she did, including the smallest and seemingly most insignificant of tasks. And so this little way is a path that anyone, all of us, can also follow. And in inviting us on the path of holiness, Jesus tells us in the gospel that whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. We'll discover through the course of life, if I were to just cling to my own needs and put just me and just seek my own good, that we'll end up finding life to be quite empty. But if I give myself away through the many small acts of love and sacrifice for others, then I will discover a peace and a joy and a fullness that I never knew to be possible. Forever I will sing the goodness of the Lord.